Hello and welcome to the Storage Flash, NVMe, and Storage Optimization EcoCast event. We have a great event in store for you today. Thank you so much for joining us on this EcoCast. Today's event is brought to you by Actual Tech Media and our sponsors. On the event, you'll hear from Cohesity, NetApp, Veeam, Pure Storage, and DataCore. If you haven't joined the EcoCast before, you should know that we at Actual Tech Media created the EcoCast and MegaCast event series to help educate IT professionals such as yourselves about the latest and greatest in enterprise technology to help you to do it as quickly and efficiently as possible without ever having to leave your office or your home. You don't have to go downtown to the convention center or travel across the state. You can learn about innovative technology. You can get all your questions answered, and you can have a chance to win some very valuable prizes. So again, thank you for taking time out of your busy day as an IT professional to join us on today's event. Now, before we get started, we have a little bit of housekeeping that we first need to cover. We will have a number of prizes to give away. I'll talk about those as well as the requirements to be eligible for the prize drawings in just a moment. We have a number of questions for you out there in the audience. And we appreciate your participation in answering those poll questions. I'll share the results of the polls with you so you can see how you stack up with your peers on the event. And we also want this to be an educational event. That's the point of this event, to help you to learn about technology, to help you to learn about new solutions, to help make your life easier, and to get all your questions answered. So during the presentations, I'm sure you'll have some technical questions. Of course, I appreciate everyone saying good morning, hi, hello. Love to get that kind of feedback, but we also love to get technical questions because we'll be doing a Q&A session with each of our presenters, and we want to help get your questions answered. So send those questions in throughout the event, and we'll be doing our best to answer those during the Q&A session. And then social. We want this to be a social event. Obviously, there's the Q&A box there. We can chat, we can share comments, help answer each other's questions, but we'll also be tweeting about the event over on Twitter, and you can actually tweet directly from your console using the Twitter icon on the bottom of the screen where the hashtag, which is Storage EcoCast, will be automatically appended to anything you tweet. I'll be monitoring Twitter, following just about anyone who tweets about the event, and replying to and sharing your comments over on Twitter as well. I'll talk more about the hashtag in just a moment. And then handouts. We have a number of handouts there in the Handouts tab. You can download those PDF assets from each of today's presenters, and there's also a link in there as well. So I want to make sure that everyone is aware of the relatively new format for the Q&A box. It says Studio Q&A, and if you click on that, that's where you can ask your questions. And you should also note that it doesn't automatically scroll to the latest comment. You need to scroll with your mouse every so often to see the latest and greatest comments coming in. So, make sure that you don't just think that nothing's happening in the Q&A, because on the EcoCast and MegaCast, something is always happening in the Q&A. So just make sure you kind of keep scrolling to the bottom periodically there. And, of course, we always appreciate your feedback on that new design. Now, on today's event, we'll be handing out 3 Amazon $500 gift cards. You must be live in attendance to qualify. There also are some other prize terms and conditions. Those can be found at events.actualtechmedia.com, or if you go to the Handouts tab, click on ATM Prize Terms. All winners must submit an IRS Form W-9 to Actual Tech Media. Now, through the EcoCast and MegaCast event series, thanks to generous attendees who have won prizes and have chosen to donate their prize values to charity, we have donated thousands and thousands of dollars to the charities you see on the screen there. So if you win a prize today and you say, you know what, I got enough Amazon stuff already, we would love to help you donate that prize value. Now, social media, again, the hashtag is Storage EcoCast. That will be automatically appended if you tweet using the Twitter icon on the bottom of the screen. You can follow Actual Tech Media over on Twitter. We're always talking about our upcoming events and enterprise IT content and trade shows, of course, that we attend, conferences. And then, of course, feel free to follow me. I'm always talking about enterprise tech and cloud and storage as well. And then finally, on the top right-hand corner of your console, you'll see icons there, one for LinkedIn, one for Twitter, and one for YouTube. You can go to those respective sites and follow Actual Tech Media and subscribe to everything that we do here. We also have a podcast called the 10 on Tech podcast, where you can subscribe to listen to interviews that we do with enterprise technology experts out in the field. All right, before we jump into our introductory keynote presentation, I've got a couple quick poll questions here. Just some warm-up poll questions. This poll question is actually relatively long. You may need to scroll down on the right-hand side of your console there to see all the different industry verticals. If you mouse over the corner of the slides window, you can click and drag out to make the slides window larger, as large as you'd like, as large as will fit inside your browser window and still see the questions box. It's a great time to do it now. And that way you don't have to scroll down. You just make the slides window larger, because we will have a lot of demonstrations today, architectural diagrams, live demos, things like that. So it's good to make that slides window as large as possible. All right, I appreciate everyone answering this question, what is your industry vertical? And I'll share the results of this here in just a moment. Looks like we've got a lot of responses coming in. Let's get just a few more. All right, lots of good verticals. Thank you, everyone, for responding to that poll. Let me share the results of this with you. And look at that, 31% on the event today are from some sort of technology company. 10% are from a healthcare-focused organization. 6% manufacturing, 7% finance and banking, 5% retail, 5% higher education, good representation from telecom, nonprofit, law, state, local government, K-12, education. Thank you, everyone, for responding to that poll question. And here is one more poll question before I talk about modern storage challenges and solutions. So the poll question on the screen now is, how many people work at your company? I'm curious to see how the audience stacks up today. What's the distribution from small to medium to large companies? And I'd be willing to bet we have a good distribution, because everybody out there has storage challenges. So let's see. Lots of good responses coming in. Thank you, everyone. Let me go ahead and share the results of this one with you. All right, and take a look at that. 19% are from 100 to 500 employee companies, 17% from 10,000 plus large organizations, 13% 2,500 to 5,000, 500 to 1,000, also 13%, and all the way down to small companies who represent 11% of the audience today. So thank you, everyone, for responding to those two poll questions. All right, and now I want to talk for just, I promise, 2 slides about modern storage challenges and the solutions to these challenges. So this is just a little bit of stage setting here. I mean, when it comes to the state of storage in the enterprise, we at Actual Tech Media, we do a lot of surveys. I attend a lot of conferences. I talk to a lot of IT professionals out in the field. And I'd be willing to bet that most likely you see some of your challenges on this list today. What we see is that companies are experiencing a massively growing data set. That data set is growing by 25% on average year over year. So that means in 4 years, it's grown 100%, just massively growing data. And some companies, it's growing much, much faster than that. So we have massive capacity issues. And at the same time, we have more low latency or latency sensitive applications. We're wanting to centralize and run more tier 1 business critical applications. And end users, honestly, anymore, they don't tolerate downtime. They don't tolerate latency very much. There's very little tolerance for any sort of latency from the enterprise applications. And we tend to compare those now to our web applications. Well, how fast is my Facebook? How fast is my Gmail? And why doesn't my company CRM or my company email come up just as quickly as those types of applications? At the same time, we also have aging storage systems So, we struggle to replace our storage every, let's say, 3 to 5 years. But anymore, I mean, we just talked about with the massively growing data set, you can't simply replace storage every 3 to 5 years. And it's really hard to predict the amount of storage capacity and the performance that you'll need, 3 years down the road. At the same time, we have data security concerns. We need to keep private information very secure, highly secure. We're constantly, threatened by, data breaches, both external and internal, and we need to protect our company's data. We talked a little bit about continuous uptime expectations. No longer can you have, a long maintenance window on the weekends. That's just not acceptable at a lot of companies. And thankfully, I think there's some really new innovative solutions out there that can help us with these challenges. And if you're experiencing some of these challenges, I'd love to hear from you, because we're going to have a poll here in just a minute, and I'm going to share the results of those challenges and the solutions that you're interested in as well. So solutions, we've got some great solutions on the event today. In general, what I see when it comes to storage solutions for these types of challenges is just massive, scalability to new storage solutions. Of course, much larger disk or capacity sizes than ever before, petabyte, size scalability, just incredible performance with flash storage and NVMe buses. And you'll learn about a lot of that today, cloud data services to help us protect our data better and analyze our data better. And then hyperconvergence as well. Hyperconvergence is bringing the storage directly to the compute and distributing the storage across the compute layer to allow us to, gain greater efficiency, in many cases. So there's a lot of great solutions out here for these storage challenges. And I'm curious, what are your top 3 storage challenges? I just popped up a poll question. These are the exact same, storage challenges that I listed back on the slide. I'm curious to find out, and I'll share the results of this, which of these do you most relate to? And try to pick maybe your top 1, 2, or 3, whatever they are. All right, lots of responses coming into this. Thank you. Let's get just a few more here. All right. Let me share the results of this with you. And look at that. 54% said, hey, we've got aging storage systems. Our storage is just plain old, right? 53% also said massively growing data sets, just like I talked about. 46% said data security concerns. And that's interesting to see. That's even higher than the continuous uptime expectations, which was actually last on the list at 34%. So thank you, everyone who responded to that poll. And now this is related, back to the slides I just did here. What are you looking for most from new storage solutions? What are the features that you say, hey, this is going to really help me? And I tried to make this list relatively long because I'm curious what's most interesting to you out there in the audience. So the answers are scalability, performance. Maybe you're interested specifically in NVMe to prevent storage bottlenecks, cloud data services, integrations to cloud, hyperconvergence of the storage, improving security, greater availability or reliability, and then perhaps could be just overall, lowering or reduction of your storage costs, or greater insight into your data and analytics. What's going on with my data? What kind of data do I have out there? How much of it is duplicate? Where can I eliminate some data? Where can I tear off my data or archive it off? All right. Let me share the results of this one with you. And let's see here. So 42% said overall they want to lower their storage costs. And almost tied with that is 41% said more scalability, 40% said improved security, and 39% said more performance. So lower costs, improved scalability, and improved performance and improve security. Those are the top 4 responses. So thank you everyone who voted in that. I hope that you found that interesting as well. I know that I did. And one final poll question before I introduce you to our first presenter, and that is, what's your time frame for updating your existing or selecting new storage solutions? So we talked about challenges, we talked about the solutions, and now final question is, what kind of time frame are you looking at here to update your aging storage? 54% of you said that you had aging storage solutions. Do you plan to update that storage in the next 6, 12, 24 months, or not sure? All right, excellent. Thank you everyone who responded to those poll questions. And with that, I'm excited to introduce our first presenter on today's Storage EcoCast event. That is Mr. Andre Franklin, Director of Product Marketing at Cohesity. Andre, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Thanks for being on the event today. Take it away.
Okay, well, it's a pleasure to meet all of you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. I'd like to talk to you for several minutes about a product that we introduced in October. So I'd like to introduce you to this product and tell you a few things about it, because I think you'll find it has a little different twist than your general run-of-the-mill NAS product. So we call this Smart Files, and this is a file and object solution, and it exists within the Cohesity data platform. I think we all kind of know this, that data is increasing every year. Gartner says that by 2024, enterprises will triple their unstructured data that's stored as file and object from what they have in 2019. This creates a lot of problems and challenges, management issues, cost issues, just dealing with the complexity of it all. We're trying to address this with the Smart Files solution. So let's take a look at what we'll call legacy NAS today. These are the general traditional NAS products that you find in the market. First of all, you have people and apps that are accessing data. They're accessing it usually across NFS or SMB, either from Windows clients or from Linux machines. And then you have machines that are actually writing data as well. They could be IoT data that they're writing to the cloud. Often an object gateway is needed to get that data to the cloud. And then there's an app infrastructure, not only to virtualize the file environment, but also to protect it. So you have often antivirus solutions. There could be compliance solutions such as SailPoint and Varonis. There could be analytics. And then there's sometimes data management, in which you want to tier some of your older data from a tier 1 level to a tier 2 or 3 level. And you can't forget about gateway to the cloud, which is there in the lower right corner of the slide, in which a gateway is often needed to get data to the cloud. Now, I'm not saying all NAS needs all things here, but this is sort of a typical environment in which you find cloud gateways, object gateways, and external app infrastructure to support the file and object environment. So what Cohesity has done is we've tried to turn this around and simplify things. So when you look at what we've done, first of all, you'll see that the object gateways are eliminated, as well as the cloud gateways, so that we can speak, Smart Files can speak native S3 to the cloud. There is no need for an object gateway. And so you can just, again, go direct to the cloud. And then your file infrastructure environment, your antivirus compliance, analytics, and data management, we have applications that are actually reside within the Cohesity data platform. We have Sentinel-1 and ClamAV for antivirus. We have a Spotlight app for compliance. We have another app. You can run Splunk on our machine, and we also have another app for analytics. And then we have the functionality of data tiering, some of the kinds of things that you saw in the previous slide from Comprise, in order to tier from a tier 1 to a tier 2 or 3 level. So we've built those apps into an app store in which you can run those apps directly on the data platform, and there's no need for external infrastructure to run these kinds of things. So all your data classification needs and storage analytics needs can run directly on the platform without the external infrastructure. Now, moving forward, there are several, I'll call them differentiators, that we see in smart files that sort of change the game in the file and objects arena. First of all, it's software defined. Not to say that we're the only software defined product, but there are many that are not. And there's flexibility associated with being software defined. We have integrated applications that don't require the external infrastructure. We integrate cybersecurity. We have a number of technologies to reduce capacity, improve capacity efficiency. And then we've done things to make it real easy to manage, and we also provide global actionable search. Now, let's take a look at some of these things a little more in depth. Now, I'm calling software defined, I'm calling it freedom of choice, because that's exactly what it is. There's no hardware vendor lock-in. You can deploy anywhere on anything, or pretty much any compatible hardware. You can actually run this in the cloud, whereas the hardware solutions, you wouldn't be able to just take what you have on a hardware solution and throw it into the cloud, because it's many of our competitors, they're not software defined. And this is actually quite good from the standpoint of future proofing. If you're looking, a year, 2 years, 5 years downstream, do you really know where you want to run your applications? Do you want to run it on premises? Do you want to run it in the cloud? Do you want a hybrid environment? The flexibility that you need is a lot easier to achieve in a software-defined environment. And you can choose from a variety of hardware platforms that are more tuned to the kind of workload that you have. So again, I think freedom of choice is one of the elements that is a foundation for smart files. But then there's broad compatibility. We have support for NFS, SMB, and S3, all native. And in fact, you can write as NFS or write as SMB, and you can read it as S3. So there's just seamless interoperability regardless of protocol, so much so that protocols don't matter anymore with smart files. There's native S3, and then we address the file permissions and ACLs that you would have to deal with normally, where permissions across SMB and NFS are different. So there's got to be a translation, and we address those file permissions in the product. So, I mean, at the end of the day, again, protocol doesn't matter. Complexity goes away in hybrid environments and interfacing with the cloud and mixed Unix, Linux environments. The complexity just goes away. There's no object gateway cost because, again, native S3, no need for a gateway there. I guess the marketing people wrote this when we say stress-free operations, But that was the only way that we could really describe it. I mean, we find that there's so many things that it can be stressful and complex. Migrations are complex. It can be difficult to automate. You can have different silos in your environment, and managing across these different silos. Sometimes they're physical silos. Sometimes they're just what I'll call management silos. Different things need their own attention. So with Smart Files, we've provided a click-and-go type ease where there's an intuitive interface. But there's also a very rich API environment to create flexible automation and to customize environments. And also a number of things to where we make migrations easy. In fact, I will go as far as saying that most migrations are almost as easy as doing a backup within the Smart Files environment. We also provide seamless data tiering, which we'll talk more about in a bit. So at the end of the day, the benefits you gain is that you really just simply have more time for strategic issues. You can reduce the cost of your in your Tier 1 environment by moving it to a more cost-effective tier, and it's all automated. Nothing to really think about or do after you kind of set it and forget it. And it's the same UI that's used for data protection. So in the Cohesity platform solution, you can have your backups and your file and object. And all of this is all under the same UI. So there's a lot of simplicity if you have needs beyond just file and object. Now, integrated apps is something that we find is not existent in the traditional NAS world. You have to run these apps on an external infrastructure. Now, I'll take antivirus, for example, because that's pretty much required. You have to protect the files in some way. And I mean, what you typically find in the industry is that this is an add-on. You have to have a separate server. You have to manage it separately. You have to scale it separately. And although we still support external ICAP server farms and antivirus running in that environment, you don't have to do that with us. You have a choice. You can run that right on the Cohesity data platform. The Smart Files has that capability so that you don't have to have this extra infrastructure. So, and it actually is no additional management. As you scale the Smart Files environment, the antivirus environment scales with it. The compliance environment scales with it. And the analytics environment scales with it. So there's no additional management, and in fact, there's nothing but benefit to running directly on the Cohesity platform. Excuse me. So I mean, at the end of the day, you win. By having the data with the apps, it's a lot less management. We can actually look in the data too to see what's inside the files, and you can use that information to drive data-driven processes in your environment. So cybersecurity made easy. I like to talk about this in terms of how you would buy a car. I mean, when you get ready to go out and buy that BMW 7 Series, they don't ask you, would you like brakes with that car? I mean, safety is just by default. It's mandatory. It's always there. It's always assumed. It should not be an add-on, in our opinion, and nor is it with the Smart Files environment. I mean, Smart Files has with it the antivirus. We have ransomware protection for the platform. We have software encryption that's end-to-end. There's multi-factor authentication. There's compliance with certain federal standards. We have worm, data lock, if you will. I mean, we have a number of things that's all integrated. So you're not installing a separate cybersecurity package or a series of packages. You've installed Smart Files, you've installed cybersecurity at multiple layers of security. So it's really expert cybersecurity without being an expert, all under the simplicity of a single UI, and all with the safety that you would expect from end-to-end encryption and multi-factor authentication and so on. Then we provide Google-like search. So no need for an external search engine to search your file environment. Again, this is all built in, and it's Google-like. You enter your search term and the results come back. Now, what's interesting here is that you not only can search across silos within your data center, across different volumes and so on, but with the addition of our Helios service, you can actually search across multiple sites, multiple geographies, and so on. So this is simple and fast index search across the entire global enterprise. Oftentimes we see customers that are initiating, I should say, multiple search iterations to try and find something across different silos, across different sites, and so on. And here's the opportunity with Smart Files to just enter one search across your entire enterprise and get back results. Now, I should say, as I mentioned earlier, that not only can you search across the metadata and the file names and file properties and so on, you can search within the file content itself. You can crack open the files, see what's in there. And so suddenly your data is not dark data anymore. You know what's in there. Is there personally identifiable information in there? Is there credit card information? You can use this to drive processes, data-centric processes in your environment once you know what's in there. So again, no additional search software. You eliminate time-consuming iterative searches. And there's no geographic search boundaries with Smart Files combined with Helios. Low-cost storage. I mean, who doesn't want to spend less money for the same storage? In America, we kind of have an expression. We talk about squeezing 10 pounds of potatoes into a 5-pound bag. Well, I mean, I think that's what we do with Smart Files. Doesn't sound very professional, but that's what we do with your data. We're able to take the same hard drive size and put more data in it, and it's a result of what I'll call a rich cocktail of data reduction technologies. It's not just very advanced sliding window variable dedupe technology, but it's compression, it's small file optimization to where oftentimes, you know, with small files you store them, and actually the storage that's consumed is greater than the content in the small files because of a amplification factor that occurs with small files. So we store the small files very efficiently. We dedupe across the volumes in the data center. So you could have data that, let's say that it's media files that don't really dedupe or compress well because they're already compressed. But maybe you have multiple copies of that across your data center. So we can address that by just deduping across the multiple copies of that media file and thus get better capacity efficiency. So again, this mixed cocktail of things, and additionally I should point out here is that you can reduce storage costs by moving data that's sitting on Tier 1 NAS. It could be NetApp, it could be Pure Storage, it could be Isilon, and maybe you love those products for what they do and don't want to replace them. That's fine, but don't let old data sit on Tier 1 expensive storage unnecessarily. So we can actually move that data similar to something like what a Comprise would do, but ours is all built in the product. We can move it to a more cost-effective Cohesity storage tier, all automatic, all policy-driven, and it just happens. So, I mean, it's just a fact that once data hits a file server, its use over time is a lot less. So it just makes sense to consider moving the data. Sometimes it's 80 or even 90% of the data hasn't been touched in months, even years. So we ask customers to kind of be smart about it and make sure that data is in the most optimum place. So let's move on here. So Smart Files, even though it's not as hasn't been around as long as some of your big names in the industry, it has a lot, if not all of the richness that you would expect to find in a very mature product. The multi-protocol services we've talked about, you'll see them there in the slide. There's unlimited snapshots. And these are snapshots that you don't pay a price in terms of performance when you have lots of them. We have DR automation, archive to the cloud, data efficiency. We've talked about data management. We've talked about there are quotas. The security we've talked about, and then the built-in apps. Again, there's a marketplace we have in which you can select a number of apps. Many of them are no cost at all. And you've got, for instance, a NAS ecosystem that you may today have been spending a lot of money and effort to maintain. So the kind of workloads that Smart Files is designed for are shown here. This would include, corporate videos, video surveillance, content management types of environments, and digital archives. So things in terms of collaboration, we're really designed for those kinds of things. Splunk cold buckets were just a natural fit for that, and the cost effectiveness is needed for Splunk cold buckets. So take a look there, but we actually run quite a number of workloads, primary workloads and secondary workloads, depending on how you might define primary and secondary. We address a broad variety of workloads. And then we found a number of industries that really seem to be adopting Smart Files quite rapidly. The healthcare industry, many petabytes we have in the healthcare industry in PACS archives, law firms and the kind of e-discovery and collaboration that they do. They love the kind of search capabilities that we provide for them. The state and local education environments seem to be adopting us quite rapidly as well as life sciences and financial services. They love the security that we provide, multiple layers of security, compliance with a lot of the security standards and so on, as well as the multi-factor authentication and encryption and so on. So in summary, let me just say that we are software defined, providing the freedom and future-proofing that comes with that. We provide integrated apps so that you don't have to have external app NAS infrastructure for that NAS ecosystem that's associated with the file servers. We provide integrated cybersecurity that just comes with the product by default. Global space efficiency for low storage costs, ease of management, and global actionable search that's Google-like in nature. So with that, I would like to entertain any questions you might have and take it from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Great presentation, Andre. We do have some questions here for you. While we do that, I'm just going to bring up this poll that says, what additional information would you like about the Cohesity solution? And I'll leave that up there for the audience to respond to while we do some Q&A. First question, I think you covered this, but might want to reiterate. Seth is asking, this integrates with Splunk, is that correct?
Yes. We actually offer Splunk in our Marketplace app store. So absolutely, and perfect integration with Splunk.
Okay, excellent. Lee is asking, can this help me to meet federal DoD standards?
I'm not familiar with all the DoD standards. I mean, there's certain FIPS standards. I think FIPS 140-1 and 140-2, and there's some others. So I don't think I could answer that at this time, but if I believe you record the questions here, we can take a look at that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we can get back to Lee on that. Another question here, can Smart Files help me with enterprise databases?
Well, it all depends. Some database workloads require real low latency. In fact, a lot of them require low latency. And we may not be a fit for certain latency sensitive workloads. So the answer is it depends. So I wish I could be more definitive, but that's something that we would have to take a look at on a case-by-case basis.
Absolutely, yeah. Another question here, you talked about enterprise snapshots, or unlimited snapshots. Kevin is asking, how long does it typically take to revert to a snapshot?
It's pretty instantaneous. I mean, it's as we said when I grew up. Before you can say Jack Robinson, you can revert to the snapshot. So it's no real delay of any significance at all.
Okay, nice. Seth is asking, do the Cohesity snapshots, restores, and deduplication scale without limit to the number of nodes? I'm not totally clear on that question, but maybe you want to talk about the scalability.
I think I understand. On our website, there's an independent validation of our scalability in which the independent firm took they went to 256 nodes, and the linearity of performance with the capacity, scale, and everything, it was perfectly linear. I'll level with you. I'm not even sure Cohesity knows how far this scales because we haven't hit those limits yet. But we're in many like multi-petabyte environments, and there's not been a scalability issue at all. And it's because the architecture, it's a fully distributed shared nothing architecture. I mean, everything's distributed. The metadata, there's no, how should I say, like a failover type of architecture. It's not in that way at all. So because it's all completely distributed. So there's no bottlenecks, and thus no bottleneck to scale.
Very nice, very nice. Another question here: what version of Cohesity software do we need on our cluster to use Smart Files? It sounds like they're already a Cohesity customer. How do they get Smart Files?
Yes, Smart Files is considered to be our version 6.3 and above. So prior to that, a lot of the Smart Files functionality won't be there. As some of you know, I mean, we've been doing file and object for some time. But the Smart Files version began at 6.3, in which there was tiering, in which there was the ability to use apps from the App Store, the file-oriented apps, if you will, and create a file ecosystem. So, yes, it's 6.3.
Okay, excellent. Tyler is asking, does Cohesity do deduplication?
Yes. I'm actually not as expert on how we do it, but I know it's a sliding window variable dedupe in which we adjust the dedupe window to fit the data so that things that may normally not dedupe in a traditional fixed window dedupe environment, we're able to dedupe most of that. If the two items are similar enough, we're able to dedupe. So the answer is yes. I mean, we dedupe everything, and we believe we have technology that's as efficient, in fact, more efficient. We actually have a white paper on our website in the scale out storage page. I can't give you the URL right now, but there's a white paper by ESG that talks about our dedupe, and we finding that I think it was, I don't know, 8 to 10 times more efficient than fixed window dedupe, and our small files efficiency was about 17 times greater than your traditional scale-out NAS in terms of our ability to store, 17 times less capacity is used with our for small file storage. So the answer is yes.
Excellent. All right. Well, Andre, there's some more technical questions I'll put there in the folder for you. Maybe you can get back to those folks. I think that's all the time we have right now for Q&A, but it's been really great having you on. Thank you so much.
And we appreciate the opportunity to share about Smart Files, so thank you.
For more information on the Cohesity Smart File solution, check out the Handouts tab right there. There's a solutions brief that covers just about everything you need to know about Smart Files, so you can just download that and check it out after the event. Of course, also visit cohesity.com for more information. And now it's time for our next presenter on today's Storage EcoCast. That is Jesse Suman, Product Marketing Manager at NetApp. Jesse, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Thanks for being on, Jesse. Take it away.
Awesome. Great. Thanks for having me. Thank you for joining today, everyone. My name is Jesse Suman, Product Marketing Manager at NetApp. My team and I are responsible for our all-flash and hybrid flash storage systems. And today I'll be presenting how you can modernize your IT infrastructure with NetApp. Here's a quick agenda for today. First, we'll cover NetApp Data Fabric and Keystone, which outline how NetApp simplifies the complexities around hybrid multi-cloud environments, along with our new consumption model. And then we'll cover ONTAP, which is NetApp's software that helps simplify data management across our AFF and FAS systems. And then we'll touch on data protection and our integration with Veeam, and lastly, the added value that you receive with NetApp solutions. So first, we'll begin with Data Fabric. Whether there's a need to better run existing environments, grow new capabilities, or transform with cloud, data management becomes more complex. NetApp's Data Fabric simplifies the integration and orchestration of data for applications and analytics across clouds and on-prem environments, and this is done to help accelerate digital transformation. Building your Data Fabric with NetApp allows you to gain cloud-like agility and financial freedom in your data center. You'll be able to power your infrastructure with the high performance, low latency, and availability that enterprise and modern applications require. And lastly, you'll have the ability to secure and protect your data across a hybrid multi-cloud environment. NetApp's Data Fabric delivers consistent services for data visibility and insights, access and control, and data protection. So what is Keystone? NetApp Keystone is your gateway to transform IT and operate like a cloud everywhere. Whether you want to build or buy as a service, whether that's on-premises or in the public cloud. We believe that hybrid multi-cloud is the de facto operating model for every customer, and when they want NetApp technology delivered as a cloud service, they should first look to the public cloud. NetApp has natively integrated enterprise storage services in Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud, and AWS that deliver the performance and availability to power even the most demanding apps, including SAP HANA. And NetApp has this level of service and integration across the major clouds. So what exactly is NetApp Keystone? We understand that not every customer or every application can move to the public cloud just yet. So through Keystone, we now offer two new ways to acquire and operate NetApp technology. On one hand, for customers who want a true cloud-like experience on-premises, we now offer NetApp Keystone subscription services that revolutionize the way that customers can acquire and operate NetApp technology. It's really a simple three-step process. On the first step, we just select a performance tier rather than a system. And then step two would be to select a storage service type, whether that's block, file, or object. And then for number three, whether you want to manage it yourself or have us manage it. You'll get your storage delivered as a service for a monthly fee, the ability to grow when needed, and the flexibility to grow into the public cloud. And all this is available for only a one-year commitment. And for customers who want to purchase NetApp technology in traditional purchasing models, NetApp Keystone offers a modern purchasing experience for our newest systems. We've dramatically streamlined your purchasing experience that enables you to do more online just like a cloud. We also offer cloud-like service guarantees for efficiency, performance, and availability so that you can buy with confidence. Once running, you get AI-driven insights that continuously optimize the health of your system, and they predict future issues like capacity or performance bottlenecks. You can also scale your infrastructure just like a cloud with non-disruptive node-based scaling, or to the public cloud with cloud-activated systems and flexible upgrade credits. Now we'll go over NetApp ONTAP 9, which is the software for storage, environments, and data management. ONTAP data management software allows you to deploy any application at the edge, in the core, or in the cloud. You've likely experienced a number of challenges with data in your company, trying to get it where it's needed and make the best use of it. During this process, I'm sure you've also noticed that it's distributed around your company from the core data center to the cloud or to the edge. Some of the challenges may also come from the type of data that is being stored, whether it's structured and unstructured, or if it's dynamic, whether it's constantly changing or growing. ONTAP can help solve these challenges by modernizing your data management, and there are 3 key ways that it does that for you. First, there's deep cloud integration. This enables you to take the applications and data on your core data center and easily move it out and run it up in the cloud on AWS, Azure, and others, for example. The second way ONTAP allows you to simplify your data management process is through flash-optimized performance, which delivers leading high performance as well as consistent sub-millisecond latency. And then there's flexibility, as we talked about, getting data where it's needed in your business. Using ONTAP as the core unification of your data management, you can move your data from the cloud back to the core, out to the edge and back, or between the edge and the cloud. You'll have the flexibility to move the data where it's needed. And that can be multiple types of data as well, whether that's SAN or NAS, and it could be multiple types of architecture, such as software-defined or cloud or engineered systems in your core data center. All of this is done with the leading data management of ONTAP, and that includes the inline storage efficiencies, the integrated data protection, simplicity, and the security compliance that ONTAP is known for. These 3 pillars outline the core capabilities of ONTAP and how it provides an unmatched level of data management. The first of the 3 pillars is SMART, which helps reduce costs by minimizing CapEx and OpEx with leading storage efficiency. With ONTAP, you get a comprehensive, industry-leading portfolio of storage efficiency capabilities. Inline data compression, deduplication, and compaction work together to reduce storage costs and maximize the data that you can store. In addition, cold data can automatically be tiered to a private or public cloud. The second pillar is powerful, which allows you to respond to changing business requirements. To support your critical applications, you need a storage environment that delivers high performance and availability. But you also need the versatility to scale and adapt as your business changes. ONTAP 9 delivers on all these requirements with flash performance for scalable and non-disruptive operations. And then the last pillar is trusted. ONTAP provides NetApp's integrated data protection, also known as IDP, which safeguards your operations and keeps them running smoothly. The leading portfolio of security capabilities in ONTAP helps you integrate data security across your hybrid cloud and avoid unauthorized data access. With the NetApp volume encryption feature that is built on ONTAP, you can easily and efficiently protect your at-risk data by encrypting any volume on an AFF or FAST system. No special encryption disks are required. ONTAP also has in-flight encryption for backup and replication, which protects your data in transit. There are also other features such as multi-factor authentication, role-based access control, and onboard and external key management to increase the security of your data. We've gone over ONTAP software. Now let's shift gears to NetApp AFF systems and how they enable a smooth data center transition to flash. A fundamental first step in undertaking an IT transformation is to modernize your infrastructure with all-flash storage to improve speed and responsiveness for critical business applications. NetApp's AFF systems deliver the industry's highest performance, superior flexibility, and the best-in-class data services to help accelerate, manage, and protect business-critical data. This graphic displays the AFF products ranging from the entry-level C190 all the way to the high-end A800. We know that some customers, however, want the continuous data availability provided by a symmetric active-active host to OnePath. That's why we've also have an all-SAN offering that provides symmetric active-active with fast failover for the organizations who need it. We've also taken simplicity a step further in the solution with a single-screen configuration for one provisioning and tiering. New workloads such as data analytics, artificial intelligence, and deep learning demand extreme performance that first-generation flash systems just can't deliver. There's an increasing number of customers who also expect always-on services. To meet the growing requirements for application and data availability, your storage infrastructure needs to evolve. The AFF A-Series systems also support end-to-end NVMe technologies, from NVMe-attached SSDs to front-end NVMe over fiber channel host connectivity. These systems deliver the industry's lowest latency for an enterprise all-flash array, which you can see in the note above, going to as little as 100 to 200 microseconds of latency. And this makes them a superior choice for driving the most demanding workloads and AI or deep learning applications. They also reduce data center costs by consolidating workloads and have NVMe SSD and NVMe over fiber channel host connectivity at no additional cost. With a simple software upgrade to the modern NVMe over fiber channel infrastructure, you can drive more workloads with faster response times without disruption or data migration. These are 7 advantages that you will have when using NetApp's all-flash arrays. The first is consistent performance. Your end users expect consistent, high performance for business-critical applications. NetApp will guarantee that the solution is appropriately sized for the customer's needs and that the customer is not being sold an undersized solution. Our all-flash systems are also more efficient and they provide robust security. Your end users need nonstop access to business-critical data. Unplanned downtime and other disruptions should not impact running your business. NetApp's all-flash arrays help you meet governance and compliance requirements. Our systems provide multi-factor authentication, worm protection, synchronous replication, and FIPS Level 2 certification, to name a few. The systems are also completely future-proof. NetApp has your back. Sure, we can offer you a free controller upgrade. Anyone can. But we don't want to lock you into a future that's strictly on-premises. There's a good chance your IT strategy will take you to hybrid or public cloud within the next 3 years. We also provide better application integration as enterprise applications often demand more capacity in an unplanned way. The last 2 points are seamless cloud integration and innovation leadership. Whether it's tiering cold data to the cloud, using cloud for backup, or unifying management across flash and cloud, NetApp all-flash storage connects to more clouds in more ways than anyone else. In addition, NetApp is a recognized leader in innovation, which has been highlighted by our position on the 2019 Gartner Magic Quadrant, which we'll also cover towards the end. So what are some common use cases? NetApp all-flash arrays are used to accelerate projects with faster software refreshes, to streamline application development, strengthen data protection, and to build a flexible hybrid multi-cloud environment. Data is at the heart of business-critical applications. In order to get the most out of their data, organizations must ensure that they're on the bleeding edge of efficiency with ongoing system refreshes and application upgrades, while continuously protecting their data and ensuring business continuity. NetApp can help organizations design and build their data fabric to accelerate projects, simplify operations, and also future-proof critical business applications. While NetApp AFF series is all flash, the FAS portfolio offers a variety of hybrid flash arrays that support your general purpose business applications, backup, and retention. NetApp's hybrid flash arrays range from the FAS 2700 to 9000, which simplify data management across flash, disk, and cloud. Organizations of all sizes are increasingly challenged with streamlining their storage operations. Their staff is overstretched from managing all their business applications, and they need to store and back up their growing volume of data while budgets are shrinking. In addition, they need to integrate cloud and flash into their storage infrastructure. NetApp's FAS hybrid flash arrays that are also powered by ONTAP data management software help build storage infrastructure that is simple, smart, and trusted. FAS systems are optimized for easy deployment and operations while having the flexibility to handle future growth and cloud integration. Use cases typically include consolidation of general business applications and file services, and this is to be able to scale to high capacity and consolidate multiple SAN and NAS workloads that don't require ultra-high performance. For content collaboration and unstructured data, to manage your distributed content and large unstructured data with the simplicity, scale, and cost of optimization of FAS hybrid flash arrays. And lastly, for backup and retention, to store and safeguard your application data with the cost efficiency that these systems and the integrated data protection of ONTAP software can offer. Now we'll cover data protection and NetApp's integration with Veeam software. NetApp's integration with Veeam enables customers to protect their virtual environments, simplify management, deliver granular recovery, and scale to the cloud. IDC interviewed organizations supporting data backup and recovery environments with Veeam software and NetApp storage hardware to understand the value of this combined approach. The organizations reported making data backup and recovery operations substantially more effective, which as a result limited the operational and business risk that's associated with data-related incidents. They also explained that they were leveraging Veeam and NetApp to make these environments more cost-effective to deploy and operate, while several organizations were taking advantage of the integration to support operations such as development that's not traditionally associated with backup and recovery environments. The result is a strong value from their investment in Veeam software and NetApp storage hardware, which IDC projects will result in a 5-year ROI of 286%. Several factors contributed to this finding. The first is enabling more effective and timely data backup and recovery efforts that are to reduce risks and the costs that are associated with these activities. The second is reducing the cost of data-related outages in terms of lost user productivity and revenue. And then there's minimizing the staff time required to manage and support data backup and recovery environments. And lastly, optimizing the cost of storage hardware, and this is through longer lifespans and improved data deduplication and compression capabilities. This section will cover a few key points on why you should consider NetApp when evaluating vendors in storage and data management. When employees can spend less time managing infrastructure, they're free to engage in activities that have higher value. This is the vision for artificial intelligence in the storage industry, and it's happening today for NetApp customers. ActiveIQ is a data-driven service that uses artificial intelligence, machine learning, and community wisdom to provide customers with predictive analytics, actionable insights, and proactive support that helps optimize their NetApp investment. Each day, ActiveIQ receives 200 billion data points from more than 300,000 NetApp assets around the globe, adding to a multi-petabyte data lake with more than 20 years of rich data. ActiveIQ is constantly learning and giving you the insights you need to optimize your NetApp investment and unleash the full potential of your data. Its AI-derived actionable intelligence leads to reduced risk, smarter decisions, and faster business outcomes. Furthermore, NetApp also provides an infrastructure monitoring tool called NetApp Cloud Insights, which allows you to troubleshoot and optimize all your resources, including your public clouds and private data centers. And this tool has a basic edition that's available for free for NetApp customers. So here are 4 guarantees that turn heads. NetApp solutions are backed by storage efficiency, performance, availability, and satisfaction. With the efficiency guarantee, customers receive an agreed-upon amount of space savings on specified workloads. The performance guarantee ensures that the AFF A-series systems will deliver the needed performance for the workloads that are specified. And the availability guarantee ensures zero downtime of a NetApp HA pair, and therefore 100% data availability for 3 years guaranteed. Last but not least, in the latest Gartner report, NetApp stands alone as the leader in our ability to execute, and only a single vendor is close on the completeness of vision. Gartner identified 3 key strengths that led to this positioning. The first is NetApp's data fabric strategy, which has enabled the company to position as a storage solution for hybrid IT environments. Number 2 is by combining predictive analytics with actionable intelligence, NetApp's Active IQ has demonstrated an increased focus on customer satisfaction. And lastly, NetApp's solid-state arrays have led in adoption of next-gen end-to-end NVMe capabilities so that advanced customer infrastructures can fully leverage the performance of NVMe. At NetApp, we continue to refine and enhance our storage portfolio in conjunction with our data fabric strategy, which continues to help customers simplify data management across distributed core, edge, and cloud IT environments. Thank you for your time. If you have or would like more information, please visit netapp.com. And at this point, I'd like to open the floor for any questions. And I also have Ling from my team who is here to support on that Q&A.
Excellent presentation, Jesse. And we're glad to have Ling on as well to help with some questions here. So while we do that, I'm just going to bring up this NetApp poll, and it's asking, what additional information would you like about the NetApp solution? We'll just leave that up here while we do some Q&A. So let's see. First question that came in, they're asking about the NetApp. Here it is, NetApp Keystone. What exactly is Keystone? Is it on-premises hardware that you pay for based on the storage consumption, or is it a cloud service? What exactly is Keystone?
So the Keystone is, there's 2 ways to understand. So for one, it's for customers who want a true cloud-like experience on premises. The Keystone has a 3-step process for this, and that's one is to choose a performance tier instead of a system, and then 2 is to choose the storage service type, whether that's block, file, or object, and then whether you want to manage it yourself or have us manage it. So the service would be delivered on a monthly fee, and it's here so that it can help you grow when needed and also allow the flexibility to go into the public cloud. And then on the other hand, for customers that want to purchase NetApp technology through traditional purchasing models, the Keystone program offers a new experience for our newest systems. And from this, the Keystone program guarantees efficiency, performance, and availability. Is there anything you'd like to add to that, Lynn?
No, this is good.
Okay. And then so how do I know you talked about Keystone and cloud. If I run Keystone on premises, how do I integrate that with the cloud? Does NetApp have a cloud that I use for disaster recovery or data protection, or what are the cloud integrations?
I can take that. Hey, this is Ling Wang from NetApp. I'm also a product marketing manager here. And so in terms of cloud integration, NetApp really provides a wide variety of solutions that you can take advantage of. So first off, we provide this fabric pool capability where you can automatically tier data from your on-premises all-flash arrays to the cloud, and that is done automatically without any intervention. And so basically what it does is it tiers the code data to the cloud, and so that you can preserve the more expensive all-flash storage on-prem for your more demanding applications to help increase the speed and increase your storage efficiency. And secondly, we provide cloud data services, and you probably heard about cloud volume services for AWS, Google Cloud, and Microsoft Azure. So those are the solutions that NetApp provide, and you can use that as a standalone services, or you can use that in conjunction with the on-prem all-flash arrays that Jesse mentioned here, all-flash FAT, AFF, or FAS storage systems. And the beauty of that is that they are all based on ONTAP data management software, and so that you just need to understand one set of common tools to manage all of this.
Oh, very nice. That sounds very intriguing. So at the start of the event here, we did a poll, and 54% said they had aging storage systems, and 50% said they were looking to lower costs. I'm curious. There's a question here about the use cases for Keystone. Is that a good use case for Keystone? Is replacing an aging storage array?
I can take that as well.
Yeah.
So Keystone definitely is a great solution for customers who want to replace aging hardware to modernize their IT infrastructure. And Keystone provides, as Jesse mentioned, two ways of consuming storage, right? The first way is the consumption model. It's a service model, right? You can buy the service, and NetApp will provide that on a monthly fee, and you can either manage that yourself, or you can have NetApp manage for you. Second way is more traditional way of consuming the storage, which is you will buy the storage arrays from NetApp and take advantage of the great performance, data management, storage efficiency, and data protection from those systems, and you can manage them yourself. And we have seen tons of customers who have moved to all-flash storage from HDDs, and they have saved tons of money in terms of power and cooling, in terms of storage footprint, and some customers reduce their storage footprint by 20 times, right? So just moving to all-flash, because the all-flash arrays provides so much more performance and more efficiency with a small box, rather than, so they can replace a huge cabinet with a couple of, storage boxes. So that's huge savings.
Yeah, very nice. Very nice. I like that. And I don't know, you may have answered this question in your response right there, but the question is, if I use Keystone, who has access to my data? They're asking, would just the customer, or would NetApp as well?
So the customer, we provide support and services, and some customers, as some of you know, that will allow the ActiveIQ to access their data, so that we can help optimize the storage systems and help prevent problems from happening. So that's what ActiveIQ can provide. Jesse mentioned that. So that's the tool help you manage the storage. And similarly with Keystone, if you either use the service model or the traditional way of buying the storage, ActiveIQ can be there, help you optimize your storage and access your data. But it's up to the customers to, whether they want that to be there or not. So you have a choice.
Oh, yeah, very nice. I like that. Okay, let's see. There's another question here, and that is, you talked about the Veeam and NetApp integration. Is there any special software or a special license or something that's required to do that? I mean, if someone already has NetApp and maybe they're looking at Veeam, or maybe they have Veeam and they're looking at NetApp. Is there something special they need to know, or do they just integrate out of the box?
So we definitely have a joint solution with Veeam, NetApp plus Veeam, and Veeam has been a long-time partner with us, and I'm not an expert on that particular solution myself, but we can definitely connect you and supply the information on that solution. And if you're interested, you can visit netapp.com, and we have the solution discussed there as well.
Excellent, excellent. All right. Well, a great presentation. Thank you, Jesse. Thank you for all your assistance with the questions, Ling. I think that's all the time we have in our Q&A session, but it's been great having you on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For more information on the NetApp solution, of course, check out the handout that's available for download there in your audience console, and also visit netapp.com for more information on the Keystone solution, ActiveIQ, and the NetApp all-flash arrays. And with that, it's time to announce our first Amazon $500 gift card winner. We have that gift card going to Vivek Varanasi from Arizona. Forgive me if I mispronounce it. Vivek Varanasi from Arizona. Congratulations, and I'll announce that in the chat box as well, or the questions box as well. And with that, it's my pleasure to introduce our next presenter on today's Storage EcoCast. That is Mr. David Huskisson, Rapid Restore Solutions Manager at Pure Storage. David, are you there?
I am, David. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks for being on. Take it away.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for joining us for this session today. Let me just find the next. Okay, so hopefully that will be the next slide here. Okay, so we're just going to quickly walk you through in our session here our sort of kind of the pure view of modern data protection, but obviously with our great partner Veeam here. So I'm just going to take you through some of the great integration and some of the great customer stories that ourselves and Veeam have generated over the last, I'd say, over the last 2 years of our partnership. So let me kind of start off with a quick technology recap. So I'm sure those of you who know Pure will know that we started off with our product called Flash Array. It certainly has the accolade of being the world's first all-flash array. And what we mean by that is that the Purity operating system that powers Flash Array and FlashBlade, which we'll come to in a moment, was actually designed from the ground up. It wasn't a hybrid array. We built the Purity operating system to leverage the performance and scale advantages of Flash. So we're extremely proud of being the world's first proper all-flash vendor. And there's a lot of capability in Flash Array in terms of snapshots, which I'll come to in a moment, and replication and active cluster. But I think at a very high level, Flash Array is really designed for block workloads, for those low latency workloads, such as Oracle and such as VMware. Hence our great story with Veeam. But I think when you sort of look back at Flash Array and try to understand the success that it had, is it really disrupted the storage industry, and it disrupted the storage industry, I think, in 2 dimensions. The first dimension being that all-flash, first to market all-flash array, and I think the second part of the story is our always evergreen subscription model. And that's really important because we all know, being IT professionals, that technology changes very quickly. And, if you're a storage buyer, you know that you get locked into cycles, and licensing varies depending on what point of the cycle you acquire. And I think Pure was very smart in, having a fair size guarantee. So, customers could send us information about what they were open to deploy Flash Array with, and we would size an appropriate flash array, and if we didn't get the size right, we would true up the storage, so fair sizing. But also that it's hard to manage the technology shifts, and our Evergreen storage model did exactly that. So as a pure customer, if you sign up to our Evergreen subscription model, what that means is every time we have in the flash array world, it tends to be controllers. So I'm really talking about the hardware here, not software patches. That's just part of what we do. But if you sign up for our Evergreen storage model, we keep your hardware, at the latest and greatest. You never have to rebuy something you've already bought from us. And if you look at the way we've transitioned, we're now at Flash Array X. We had Flash Array M and a prior model, and we move customers between those different versions of Flash Array, and that's quite a technology challenge because they all differ in terms of footprint and size, and we do this non-disruptively. So not only do we move customers between hardware platforms, we actually do this in place. So we've never had a customer that suffered any downtime as a result of being able to move through that model. And I think really that Evergreen storage model has really revolutionized the storage industry. We have a lot of our competitors are trying to catch up now in offering that model, but it does allow customers to stay on the latest and greatest, which is a real challenge in the storage world. So one of the leading parts of Flash Array, which is very specific for our partnership with Veeam, is our snapshot technology. So we do volume level snapshots pretty much like everybody else, but I think the difference is they're very thin. You can roll back very, very easily. We're very open about the APIs that we published, and we also offer a number of export capabilities. And we're not necessarily going to touch on that today in any detail. Come and visit purestorage.com to understand that a little bit more. But we've offered Snap to NFS for a long time, and more recently now we're offering Snap to S3. So you can take these snapshots and export them to any NFS target or to AWS, for example. And there's a bigger story around that. But if I zero back into why this is important with our partnership with Veeam, Veeam have done a fantastic job in integrating their universal API into Flash Array. But before we get to the detail of that, why would you want to use snapshots for backup? Well, snapshots are a great technology. A lot of customers, actually, we did a webinar a couple of weeks ago, and it surprised me how many customers were using sort of traditional, copy capabilities. So snapshots have been around for a long time for data protection, and what they do provide, a traditional backup does not provide, is a low impact, highly aggressive RPO, so recovery point objective, and also recovery time objective. And if you just see the slide here, it illustrates a typical, customer environment where, I would take a snapshot at 8 p.m. and I would then offload that snapshot, to another backup target, be a disk or a FlashBlade or something else. And then going forward, every hour I would take, a snapshot, but I would just effectively leave that snapshot in place. So if I had to quickly recover, I could just roll back. And the reason you want to do this is traditional backup introduces yet another load on the production system. So if I'm serving up VMware and then suddenly I have to start doing a backup where I'm going to put, I'm going to use VADP or take some kind of, hot backup of VMware, suddenly the performance of my VMware clients will suddenly drop, because not only am I serving them up in production, but what I'm also now doing is sending data to a backup application. And that's really why customers choose to use snapshots. And we certainly see it as a very important best practice, not for everything in your environment, but for those what I would say mission critical, virtual machines or applications where you need very, very quick recovery, but you also want to, keep a copy of maybe, an 8 p.m., an 8 p.m. snapshot and then, a 4 a.m. snapshot, and you want to move that away into some kind of backup infrastructure. And this, as I say, this slide typically shows the kind of snapshot regime in Congress with a backup product that we see. And I think one of the things I really like about the work that we've done with Veeam over the last 18 months is how tightly we've integrated, our flash array snapshots into Veeam. So that really allows Veeam to be the end-to-end orchestrator of our snapshots. So from the flash array side, we expose, APIs that we allow Veeam to plug into. Veeam have built their universal API that forges that connection to a flash array snapshot, and they can issue instructions from Veeam as part of a backup policy to actually instigate that snapshot and then present that snapshot to Veeam. And if you want to then back it up, you can go ahead and do that. So that's at a high level what we've done with Veeam. But I think what I really like about Veeam and the work they've done with us is the granularity of recovery. So they have a great set of tools called Explorers, and these Explorers allow the backup administrator or the storage administrator to recover, different levels of granularity. So you can see from the slide here that, I can bring the whole thing back, so I can recover the entire VM from the snapshot, or if I wish, I can then go and recover, individual items. So that's a very powerful, and again, what I really like is the way that Veeam have abstracted a lot of the complexity away from actually, from the snapshot mechanism. And when you go down to it, snapshots get kind of complicated. They're generally a command line, kind of pursuit. And I think Veeam do a great job in abstracting that functionality. And while I was here, I just wanted to talk about, just briefly give a shout out for one of our recent announcements, which is Flash Array C. So this is part of the Flash Array family, and traditional Flash Array M and X have really been focused at low latency and high performance, and we've had a lot of demand to build a bigger capacity Flash Array that doesn't necessarily have the performance metrics that you associate with Flash Array X. So this particular version of Flash Array operates like Flash Array. It's still the Purity operating system. So everything you can do with an X, you can do with a C. This just happens to be at a different scale of economy in terms of purchasing price, and it also happens to be a bigger capacity Flash Array that you can buy. But all the things about X, so the dedupe and the compression that we have built into X are also available on C, and that also goes for the functionality that I've just described with Veeam. So that it's the same Flash Array snapshots, it's the same capabilities as I've just described. So if you've got a set of virtual machines that you see more as a tier 2 pursuit, so maybe they're not mission critical, it could be test dev and so on, you can actually use Flash Array C to run those and just slot those nicely into your Veeam infrastructure, and Flash Array snapshots will behave in exactly the same way. Okay, so let's switch gears a little bit. So I just wanted to move the conversation away from Flash Array and just talk about FlashBlade, which is our second and our newer, and when I say newer, it's probably been in the market now, 24 to 18 to 24 months. And FlashBlade, again, an all-flash capability, an all-flash storage array, but focused on a set of different use cases. So Flash Array X and Flash Array C are very much block. It's where you'd actually run your virtual machines. FlashBlade is more of a scale out, highly fast object store. So we don't support block protocols with FlashBlade. We support NFS, we support SMB, and we support S3. And really what we're trying to achieve with FlashBlade is we're building an object storage platform that's designed to support different workloads, which I'll get to in a moment. But the difference is there's a lot of S3 storage out there, but generally S3 storage is categorized as sort of cheap and deep. So long-term storage, you don't really run high-performance applications on it. It's more of an archive tier. FlashBlade is unique because it's designed to be fast object. And as you can go off and do some research, and you can actually see the growth of applications in the S3 space. And now those applications are maturing, and they're actually requiring a level of high performance. So I'm thinking of analytics and Elasticsearch and TensorFlow, and a whole raft of applications that not only are object-based but actually require a level of performance. And that really was what FlashBlade was conceived. It was conceived to solve. So unstructured, large data applications at scale and at performance. So where does that fit in with Veeam? So we conceived FlashBlade to support these sort of object unstructured workloads, and we actually found fairly early on that backup and recovery was a fantastic use case. We weren't sure that customers wanted to pay the premium for an all-flash scale-out object store, but the reality was restore times generally, or the active restore has generally been a neglected part of data protection. A lot of vendors just talk about, and appliance vendors talk about backup rates. FlashBlade allows us to have a different conversation about meeting the restore SLA, because it's value in a backup and recovery environment is its ability to, and we get great backup speeds, but where we shine against everything else in the environment, in the marketplace, is in our ability to restore. So how do we get to that level of restore? Well, generally, like everything in the infrastructure world, it's all about physics. So FlashBlade, as the name suggests, is built on blade technology. So every time you add additional storage in 56 terabyte chunks, you actually add an additional blade to FlashBlade. And on that blade, you get the storage, obviously, but you get compute, and you also get networking. So we're never in this situation where a lot of the competition, as they fill up, as they get more usage, their performance declines. And if anything, this graph should show you that as we increase our storage, our performance actually increases. So in a fully populated FlashBlade, our theoretical read speed is something around 270 terabytes an hour. Now, there's some realities on top of that, which means you don't get that speed at the client end. But certainly with Veeam, we've seen recovery speeds upwards of 40 terabytes an hour, and that really illustrates the success we've had with FlashBlade and with Veeam. Is we can go to customers who can't restore data, and I'll show you some stories at the end. And, we can allow customers now to meet their restore SLA. And if you look in a bigger context, certainly in the data protection universe, there's more and more pressure as we sort of live in an always-on kind of environment where customers, expect data to always be there. But if you have a ransomware attack or some kind of human error, you're in a recovery mode, and there's a very aggressive expectation that your data services, whether it's critical or non-critical, should be available at all times. And FlashBlade really solves this problem of poor restore time. And again, one of the things I think Veeam does really well is really simplifying deployment and infrastructure. And as you can see from this slide here, it's literally a case of of doing a little bit of setup, getting FlashBlade deployed, which is a pretty straightforward, pretty straightforward operation, getting it racked and stacked and powered up, and then either using SMB or NFS to talk to FlashBlade, and that's literally all you need to do. It's as simple as just, setting up another backup target and pointing your Veeam backups to FlashBlade. And that gives us a great end-to-end story, which is reflected in some of the customer quotes you'll see at the end of the session. But that gives us a great end-to-end story with what we call rapid restore with FlashBlade and with Veeam. So I just wanted to say kind of a few words here. So, as I said when I was describing FlashBlade, FlashBlade was conceived as a general-purpose, fast, highly scalable object store. If you go to our website and you attend some of our seminars, you'll see us talk a lot about the Data Hub. And Data Hub really is more of a marketing term that really refers to this ability to use FlashBlade in a number of different application areas. So rapid restore, so the integration with Veeam is one of them, but there's a bunch of others. And you can see from this slide, we've got a lot of presence in, data analytics and log analytics. We're seeing massive growth, obviously with Splunk and with Vertica and with Elasticsearch. AI is still a little bit of the Wild West, so I think the market is still consolidating. But, we've got a great presence in semiconductor design, EDA, because they have lots and lots of small files and scratch space that they need to manage, and FlashBlade is perfect for that. And I guess just sort of building out the Veeam story just a little bit more, I think and I personally feel this is one of the underserved areas of Veeam, is the ability to run their Data Labs feature. So Data Labs, for those of you who don't know, is this ability to create, a sandbox environment based off Veeam backup. So rather than having to, if you think about what you would normally do, if you, wanted to do some testing or some patchwork or maybe investigate potential malware, you'd have to go to your backup product, you'd have to provision servers, you'd have to restore, and then you mount up. The beauty of Veeam's test lab function is you can actually just do this literally with one click from Veeam, from the Veeam console, and you can then start spinning up these virtual instances of virtual machines without actually having to restore them. And because of the architecture of FlashBlade, they perform extremely well, where you're hosting these on FlashBlade. So, we talk about the Data Hub, but again, one use straight away that we get out of the box with Veeam is their ability to spin up these virtual machines, and then be able to go and perhaps do some patch testing, some QA testing, some data mining. We have customers who use them for kind of malware investigation and so forth. So you can see, even with Veeam, we've got the two use cases. We've got a rapid restore use case, so we can get that sort of 30 terabyte, 40 terabyte an hour recovery number. But we've also got sort of the beginnings of a Data Hub use case where you're using data labs on Veeam, you mount them up, and you can perform some ancillary analysis or operations. So we've got a very tight story with Veeam. We've had a lot of success with a bunch of joint customers. And I'd say, with this final slide, here, this is just some of the success stories we've had with Veeam together. Now, obviously, we're talking about modernizing data protection, but 80% of the rapid restore deployments we have with Veeam are actually using FlashBlade not only for that rapid restore capability, but also using it for some other use case, whether that's for Splunk, whether that's Veeam's, test lab capability, whether it's Elasticsearch or Vertica or something else. So, FlashBlade's quite a different beast compared to what's around it in the marketplace. And hopefully in this short session, you've been able to see that we've got a very tight integration and go-to-market with Veeam where, we've had a lot of happy and successful customers. So, David, I think I can pause there and see if we've got any Q&A.
Absolutely, yeah. Great presentation, David. I'm just going to prop up this poll question. What additional information would you like about the Pure Storage and Veeam solution? So let's see. First question, Vicky is asking, is there a separate license cost if you want to do the test lab with Veeam? Are you familiar with that?
That may be a question for my Veeam colleagues, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Let's see. Next one. Does Pure Storage integrate with backup solutions other than Veeam?
Yes, we do. Pure doesn't own. We don't have a backup product. There are our peers at Veeam and others are experts at data protection. We feel like we're the experts at all flash storage, whether it's block or object. So there are various different integration points with other backup vendors. If you're interested in that, purestorage.com can help you navigate that.
Okay, excellent. Another question here, sorry, I lost it. Instant recovery. Is instant recovery, that's a feature of Veeam and Pure Storage together? Or do you have any more info on instant recovery?
Yeah, so certainly from the Pure perspective, no, this isn't instant recovery. I would love it to be integrated only with Pure, but clearly it isn't. Integrated recovery, test labs, whatever word you want to call it, has been a feature that, Veeam, I watched Veeam closely in different lives and saw Veeam grow very, very rapidly. And instant recovery was a feature they had probably before the existence of Pure, I'd say. So you can use instant recovery with Veeam with any hardware platform. Clearly, with my Pure hat on, I'd say that the instant recovery runs way better on FlashBlade than pretty much any other storage device out there, just because of FlashBlade's scalable and performance architecture.
Okay. And I just got a message from Andrew at Veeam. He said there's no additional license cost for the Veeam Test Lab feature. So that's good to know. John is asking, what does Pure support when it comes to hybrid cloud for maybe protecting data from on-premises up into the cloud?
Sure. So today, so this is, okay, so kind of there's always more than one answer, right? So let me just speak to FlashArray. So I talked obviously about the cloud, what we call Cloud Snap or Snap to S3. So today that support is AWS, but we have Azure coming very, very quickly for that support. And then I don't want to be too specific about timelines because things change, as you all know, but I would imagine within the first quarter, calendar quarter of next year, maybe a little bit longer, we'll be releasing similar capability for FlashBlade. So the ability to replicate at an object level from FlashBlade, to cloud, and in the first rev of that, which I'd expect around April time, maybe a little bit later, maybe a little bit earlier. We're in beta right now. We'll be supporting AWS as a target, but then we expect Azure and Google to follow soon after that.
Awesome. Well, it's been a great presentation, David. I think that's all the questions we have for now, but thank you so much for being on the Storage EcoCast.
My pleasure. Thank you, everyone, for your attention.
And for more information on the Pure Storage and Veeam solution, check out the handout that's available there in your audience console. This is a white paper on Veeam advanced integrations for Pure Storage. So I bet that will answer some of the questions perhaps that we had and maybe some questions that you haven't thought of yet. So make sure you download that handout in your Handouts tab. All right, now it's time to announce our next Amazon $500 gift card winner. That's going to Daniel McDonald from Ohio. Congratulations, Daniel McDonald from Ohio. We've got one more gift card to give away after our next presentation. And with that, I'm excited to introduce Manish, Senior Product Marketing Manager at DataCore. Manish, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can, yeah. Thank you for being on. Take it away.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. All right. Okay. So thank you. So yeah, like I said, my name is Manish Chakra. I'm the Senior Product Manager at DataCore Software. We are providing software-defined storage. So basically today what I want to talk to you about is how to consolidate as well as accelerate your storage using a combination of SDS or software-defined storage as well as NVMe. So thank you for sitting through presentations. I know this is the last one, so I will try and make it as quick as possible. Okay, so starting off, I want to talk about the data and performance requirements. What we found is that customer data nearly doubles every couple of years, but your storage budget not so much. So you roughly about 5 to 10% per year. So as storage admins and professionals, we've got a tough task in trying to manage the expectations of the business with the budget that comes along with it. So how do we solve that? So what should you consider, right? So we'll start off with, well, what are the questions I should ask myself? What are my pain points? Performance is usually one of them, but we also have other considerations like data center cost, whether it's rack space, operational cost, energy, cooling, things of that nature. So the next question I like to ask myself is, where or how does Flash actually help me provide this Flash NVMe? You got to remember that a terabyte of Flash is still orders of magnitude more expensive than the terabyte of a spinning drive. What we found at DataCore is when we've looked at customers, about 80 to 90% of our customers, they seem to have 10% of their data generate about almost 90% of the IOs. So there's opportunities to optimize those IOs without having to upgrade your entire infrastructure. You can strategically place NVMe, Flash, and use software-defined storage to optimize the bulk of your IO. That way you can manage your storage infrastructure. And then you've got to ask yourself questions like, okay, what is the performance guarantee? And what is a sustainable or expandable entry into Flash? Let's talk about that in our next slide. So we all know Flash is fast, but how fast really is it? If you look at this graph on the x-axis, you have 8K blocks of data. It starts at 100% read and 0% write at the left, and on to 90% read, 10% write, and so on and so forth till you get to 0 read and 100% write. You'll notice that the latency starts at a 500 milliseconds, pretty fast, and then slowly it moves up into the 4+ second category. So what we can at DataCore provide is a software-defined storage. Basically, we're using server-side cache to give you consistent and very low latency regardless of the workloads that you're having. So you'll notice that with the same kind of workload, with the addition of software-defined storage, we're able to maintain a constant 500 millisecond latency, roughly, depending on, regardless of whether we start at 100% read all the way to 100% write. I also want to talk to you about one of the features of our software-defined storage product, SAN Symphony, is the random write accelerator. And by the way, these figures are available on our website. So if you simply Google DataCore random write accelerator, you'll see these figures and the explanation of how you ran the tests and things of that nature. Basically, what we did was we looked at a SATA hard disk drive, and we were like, okay, we're getting about 327 IOPS. And then we add the DataCore SAN Symphony product, and with our random write accelerator and cache, we're able to increase that to 11,000 IOPS, which is, as you'll notice from the graph, it is more than what a stock SSD, which in this case has 10,000 IOPS, can generate. And so you go, okay, so why not just stick with that? Well, if your IOPS requirements are even greater, you'll notice that in the case of the SSD, we were able to boost the IOPS from 10,000, which is stock, obeying the laws of physics, if you will, to about 36,000. So significant improvement in the IOPS that you can get out of your existing infrastructure, as well as when you upgrade, you get more than what is theoretically possible, simply because we are using the cache and taking an IO as fast as it can come, and then committing it as possible. The next thing I want to talk about is the parallel IO technology that we have. Usually when you're doing serial scheduling, you have a bunch of cores that are idle, and so you're not really optimizing all the hardware that you've purchased. If you look over on the right side, with our parallel IO, we are making sure that all the cores that you purchase are used. So NVMe takes advantage of the low latency data paths, and in combination with our parallel IO, we take advantage of multiple cores. So we're giving you a 1-2 punch. So it's not just the NVMe flash, but we're also providing you with the parallel IO to even further boost the performance that you get. The last feature I want to talk about is auto tiering. So the way San Symphony works is it determines how hot, if you will, your data is, and then depending on how frequently it's accessed, it puts it either in tier 1, 3, 2, 3, or all the way up to tier N, which being 15 tiers. And basically what we do is we go, okay, NVMe flash, probably tier 1, and then your tier 2 could be your all-flash storage array, tier 3 could be hybrid, and then tier 4 could be your spinning disk. Also, the advantage is that these could be from multiple vendors. We don't care about what hardware vendor it is. We support all of them, all the major ones. And basically, as long as you're using iSCSI, your fiber channel, we can help you manage the multiple different storage vendors that you have, either because of mergers and acquisitions, or perhaps a business need had changed and you had to go to a different vendor for whatever reason. I also want to mention that I mentioned previously that we do caching. We definitely use as much RAM as possible to speed up what the application host sees as its disk. So basically, we are providing a logical disk up to the application host, and the application host thinks it's got the fastest disk possible, and we simply use as much RAM as possible. So, since RAM is cheap these days, it's a quick and easy way to boost the I/O available to your application host. All right, so let's talk about SDS, or the software-defined storage. All right, so software-defined storage, right? So you consume SDS with your physical servers, your virtual machines, and now, of course, with your containers. The access methods that you use are fiber channel, iSCSI, NFS, or SMB. The operations and insights that you typically expect, provisioning, data migration, your data real-time and historical, health and performance, and then, of course, learning, analytics, and orchestration. I'm not going to go into each one of those, but that's basically what people look for in a modern software-defined storage solution. And then, of course, manage it with your command and control. We provide REST APIs and the ability to use PowerShell commandlets to write your custom scripts. And then, of course, plugins for vSphere and vCenter. And, of course, all managed by a robust console. We support these storage protocols. We have NVMe, Fiber Channel, iSCSI, SAS and SATA, of course, and then cloud, which arguably is a destination and a protocol in and of itself. Last but not least, the data services that San Symphony provides. I'm not going to get into each one of these, but we already talked about auto tiering, caching, as well as the random write accelerator. I want to briefly touch on CDP, or continuous data protection. Basically, we store your data at up to a second granularity. I like to call it TiVo for the storage infrastructure. So if you get hit by ransomware or any other virus or issue, you can almost, quote unquote, rewind back to a certain day at a certain time, up to even a second if needed. and you could recover from that, and your business continues on. So it's a great business continuity, disaster recovery type of solution. Of course, there's the other usual suspects that people expect: encryption, load balancing, synchronous mirroring, asynchronous mirroring, and provisioning, things of that nature.
Anish, we've got the poll ready now. I'm just going to
Excellent.
go ahead. Let me go ahead and bring that up. So the question here on the screen you should see is, do you already use SDS or software-defined storage and or HCI? And the answers are yes, we use software-defined storage. Yes, we use hyperconverged infrastructure. Yes, we use both. Or no, we're not using either one. Or maybe you're doing an evaluation of one or both of those at this point. So I already see the answers rolling in. Thank you, everyone, for those responses. Let's get a few more responses, and I will share the results with you. And I'm curious to find out what everyone's doing out there. All right. Looks like lots of responses came in. Let me share this with you. And it says 38% right now are not using either software-defined storage or HCI. 25% are currently doing evaluations of these. 9% use software-defined storage, 16% HCI, and 9% use both. What's your take on that, Manish?
Excellent. Yeah, this is good information. It tells me that there's either not a need for SDS or HCI in 38%, or they're currently just trying to get more information. And then the rest of the audience is either evaluating or already in progress with their SDS plan. So that's good to know.
Okay, great. Great. And I think I put you back on the slide you were on. Is that right?
I believe that is correct. Yes. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay. Sure.
All right. So moving on. Like we talked earlier, there's two things we're trying to do. We're trying to consolidate and improve your performance of your storage infrastructure, right? One way to do it is with NVMe Flash. The other is you do it with NVMe Flash in combination with software-defined storage, so you get an even better performance gain. So like we mentioned earlier, oftentimes a tiny portion of your data is causing the major requests or requirements of your IOs in your infrastructure. So basically what we do, you add in your storage, your NVMe Flash, and then also at the same time add in your, if you notice, DataCore hosts, whether they be in software-defined storage or hyperconverged mode. And basically what we recommend is, if you don't want to impact your SLAs, you simply, at the time of provisioning, make sure your NVMe drives are already in your DataCore SAN Symphony servers, or simply utilize hot plug NVMe U.2 drives. Okay. Like I talked about earlier, auto-tiering, we make sure that frequently accessed or hot data is placed on your fastest tier. In this case, tier 1 would be NVMe Flash, and we make sure that we move in this scenario, we have now taken the data from your SAN and we've moved it to the software-defined storage layer, specifically on the NVMe Flash, so that you can get the best performance possible out of it. And of course, as you can see, the data has moved permanently to the software-defined storage layer, and you are now running as fast as possible with NVMe Flash. Now let's talk about another scenario with software-defined storage. Right now, in this case, we see that the DataCore SAN Symphony servers are managing your storage area network, and they are abstracting the hardware from the software layer, if you will. Storage virtualization is what we like to call it. So the application host simply requests a certain disk. We go, okay, we've got 2 SANs, each of them have 20 terabytes free. The application host wants 40 terabytes. We present a logical 40 terabyte drive to the application host. And then in the back end, we can assign 20 terabytes to each SAN, depending on speed and access methodology. So this way you can consolidate. If you have multiple hardware vendors in your environment, you can now use a combined storage instead of now having to rely just on what's available in one vendor. We can also do upgrades, repairs, any kind of maintenance you want on your current SAN without affecting your SLAs. So basically, you add your new SANs, and now you copy your data from your old SANs, but in this example is an upgrade from your old SAN to your new SAN. Data is copied in the background. We don't care about source and destination. We make sure that we move all your data. And as you can see, there is no impact on the service level agreements that you have with your business. Your application hosts continue to work as usual. The data is up and available, but we're simply making copies in the background to the new SAN, whether it's a new all-flash array or perhaps you're just replacing aging gear. You can do this live in production without having to schedule a downtime. One of the things that information that we got from telemetry, which is quite surprising, pleasantly though, was the fact that most, if not all, our customers schedule their maintenance or upgrades on a Wednesday during the middle of the day, because they're confident that their SLAs are not going to be impacted and they would like to see the new solution up and running for a few days, and so they're doing it in the middle of the day. And as you can see, the final step is you've replaced the aging gear, you've transferred all the data over, you can now start using your new SAN, and you can, of course, dispose of your older hardware as you wish, and the application host is none the wiser. And this is also one of the advantages of software-defined storage. If you want to enable encryption or anything like that at the back end, the application host continues business as normal. It sees the drive and it's trying to write data to it and I/O to it, and we manage all the data services at the back end completely transparent to the application host. With that, we come to our final slide, and like I promised, I kept it quick and painless, or relatively. So this slide, I pretty much want to just summarize what we talked about. NVMe flash and software-defined storage, both in combination, give you the best bang for your buck and let you get the most performance out of your storage solution. You can run DataCore and Symphony in software-defined storage mode, where we are abstracting the hardware from the software, providing storage virtualization, if you will, where you can aggregate data across multiple SANs, perform maintenance, and manage all your data from one console. Or you can also do hyperconverged infrastructure, where you want to actually replace some of your SANs with x86 hardware, servers running storage, compute, and network it all in one box. To that point, I want to briefly talk about the HCI Flex appliance that we recently released. As you can see the photo on the right-hand side, no surprises there. It's a Dell PowerEdge R740 server. What we have basically done is installed the hypervisor. We give you an option of VMware ESXi or Microsoft Hyper-V, along with SAN Symphony software in the HCI configuration, and we make sure that everything is bundled up and you get a turnkey appliance that you can just simply rack and stack, answer 2 or 3 questions that are specific to your environment, and be up and running within the hour. A couple of times I tried it, I was ready in 20 minutes, but it all depends on your environment and the needs of your organization. And so finally, I just want to quickly say, I know I've given you a lot of information. There's a lot of information on our website, but at any point, if you want to give us a try, you can go to datacore.com/try it now, and either do the try it now option or schedule a live demo, maybe a 30-day trial. They're software only, so you can download a software and you can install it on most x86 hardware. The requirements, minimum requirements and things of that nature are all listed, so you can quickly try this with a 30-day trial, or perhaps speak to one of our knowledgeable sales engineers. The good thing about our product also is that our licensing is pretty straightforward. We charge you per terabyte, and that's it. We don't care about how many processors you have, how many cores you have. All that's irrelevant. Simply charge based on the amount of storage you want us to manage. With that, I will move on to the final slide, which is the questions. So, David, I don't know if you've been receiving questions, but if you have, I'll attempt and answer them. If not, I will have to get back, but I'll hand it over to you.
Absolutely, yeah. We do have some questions here for you. So I'll just pop up this poll question that says, what additional information would you like about the DataCore solution? I'll just leave that up for the audience while we do some Q&A. I think you answered the first one. Brian's asking, is there a free version for lab or testing? I think you said there's a 30-day free trial. Is that right?
There's a 30-day free trial, and also, our partners from our distributors get NFR licenses. But yeah, you can try it for 30 days. If for some reason you need some more time, you can talk to our sales engineers. I'm sure they would be more than happy to give you an extension. So yeah, absolutely. You can try it and find out how your workloads behave.
Excellent. Question here from Tyler. He's asking, I guess he's already looking at the pricing on your website, and he says, the pricing on the website is in 1 terabyte increments. Is that a yearly cost or a monthly cost? I'm not sure if you can comment on pricing on here, or if we should get back to Tyler.
Well, I don't want to get too specific into pricing because salespeople will come and smack me on my wrist, but I will tell you that we have 2 available licensing models. One is a perpetual model, and the other is subscription. And the subscription pricing is yearly, and the perpetual, obviously, there's no expiry. So depending on if you're interested in CapEx or OpEx, you choose the model that you want. You choose how many terabytes. Obviously, the more you buy, the better discounts you get. I'm not going to get into specific numbers, not only because I don't know it. Again, that's something I let the sales folks talk to you about, but hopefully that answers the question.
Absolutely, yeah. Another question here, is DataCore a base level storage OS? So if you had a physical host and you want to put DataCore on it, do you install an operating system first and then DataCore, or do you just install DataCore? How does that work?
Yeah, good question. So DataCore is a Windows or Win32 application. We install currently on Windows Server 2012 and 2016. We're almost done with our qualification of Server 2019, which should be out in a couple of months. But basically, if you have an ESX hypervisor, you could install us in a Windows VM. You could also, of course, have Windows Server with the Hyper-V role enabled and install us either in the root partition or in a VM as you wish. So quite easy to install and manage.
Okay, excellent. And then Todd is asking, for your software-defined storage, is it a head-end appliance that goes between virtual hosts and existing SANs, or does it also host data itself?
Great question. I'm glad you asked that, Todd. So basically, the answer is yes, all of the above. So our hyper-converged infrastructure appliances come with storage and compute all in one box. But let's say you have additional storage, you can also connect your external compute hosts, whether they're physical or virtual, to connect to the storage on our HCI appliances, or a server where you have installed HCI software on, if you like to do it yourself. And of course, the vice versa is also possible. If you have an extra compute on the box and you would like to consume additional storage, you can also connect to an external SAN, either with iSCSI or the optional fiber channel card that can be purchased with the larger appliances. And then you can now, using the compute in the box, connect to as much storage as you want. So yeah, obviously you'll have to get into the licensing with the salespeople, but basically we give you the flexibility of using any and all of your existing infrastructure or adding new and using conjunction of both. Yes. Okay,
nice. Let's see. I think probably the last question we have, just to clarify, DataCore, so you can install it on a physical host, and there's a hardware compatibility list, or DataCore offers a hardware appliance. that you can purchase from DataCore, so it would be hardware with the DataCore software already on it. Is that true?
That is correct. That is correct. So DataCore SAN Symphony is a software, so you can download it and put it on any x86 hardware on any virtual machine. But you could also, if you want a simplified turnkey appliance and you're not interested in sizing your hardware and purchasing things of that nature, and you want just one hand to shake, one throat to choke, if you will, you can buy our appliance. That way you get everything pre-configured. You just have to answer a couple of questions and the installation is done. When there are issues, whether with sales ordering or with the technical support, you have one number to call, and we make sure that if it's a hardware issue, we get you the hardware warranty from Dell. And that way you don't have to call Dell, VMware, Microsoft, DataCore, and a bunch of other people to get your issues resolved. You just call the one number that comes when you purchase the appliance. But yeah, we like to offer our customers the choice. Some customers have specific hardware needs, which an appliance may or may not meet, and so we're like, you have the software, so you can go ahead and use that.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I think you answered all the questions we had. It's been really great having you on. Thank you so much, Manish.
Yeah, thanks, David. Appreciate it.
And thanks
everybody for attending too. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. And thank you, DataCore, for sponsoring today's event. For more information, check out their SDS data sheet that's available for download there in the audience console. Of course, also visit datacore.com and give the solution a try for yourself. And with that, I want to announce our final gift card winner. We have an Amazon $500 gift card, and that is going out to Scott Speckman from Kansas. Congratulations, Scott Speckman from Kansas. I'll post all the gift card winners in the audience questions box if you'd like to check those out. Before you go, I want to remind you to subscribe to the 10 on Tech podcast over in the iTunes store. Make sure you follow Actual Tech Media over on LinkedIn. That's where we post all of our latest and greatest content around enterprise technology and all of our upcoming events. And if you are a potential sponsor of an upcoming event, check out, just send an email over to connect@actualtechmedia.com to chat with us about that. And finally, I hope you will join me tomorrow on the Supercharging Edge Computing Environments EcoCast event. You can register for that at events.actualtechmedia.com. And actually, as soon as I end the webcast today, you will be automatically directed to that website. So I hope to see you there. I hope everyone enjoyed the Storage EcoCast today as much as I did. Hope you learned a lot. Have a great day. See you next time.